All right, let's dive into something pretty exciting today. Geothermal energy. We talk about the future of energy a lot, and this BBC Science Focus magazine is calling it, get this, unlimited energy. Unlimited. They even mention vacation homes running on it, and I've got this HPB flyer here talking about the same thing, so clearly someone's up with geothermal.
Well, what's so fascinating about geothermal is that it's not actually new. I mean, people have been using the Earth's heat for centuries. Look at Iceland. But now it's like, how do we scale it up? The article uses this great image Earth as this sleeping giant of renewable energy, and we're finally trying to wake it up.
Okay, I like that, waking up a sleeping giant. But how do we actually do that, especially globally? This ultra deep geothermal thing the article mentions sounds kind of intense.
Yeah, ultra deep geothermal. That's the really revolutionary part. But to get that, maybe it's easier to imagine the three main types of geothermal.
Okay, yeah, break it down.
So you've got conventional, that's basically finding existing hot spots close to the surface, like those hot springs. Then there's enhanced geothermal, where we kind of give those hot spots a boost, injecting water to make steam. But ultra deep, that's where we go miles down, tapping into crazy high temperatures.
Miles down. That just sounds logistically impossible, not to mention expensive.
It has been a huge obstacle. But there are new drilling technologies changing the game. This article talks about a company, Quais, and get this, they've developed a millimeter wave drilling system.
Millimeter waves. Gotta admit, I don't know what that means. Sounds like something out of Star Trek, not for drilling into the Earth.
It does sound pretty futuristic. Basically, picture your microwave. They use those same waves to, get this, melt the rock, vaporize it.
Wait, melting rock with microwaves? I can barely reheat my coffee without something exploding. How does that even work?
It's all about how well those millimeter waves transfer energy. Heats the rock crazy fast, way more efficient than old school drilling. So suddenly, ultra-deep geothermal is a real possibility.
Okay, that is mind-blowing. But say we can drill that deep and get this energy, what are we talking about impact-wise? The article mentioned this Eden project in the UK.
The Eden Project's a great example. You know those big biodomes? They've got the world's biggest indoor rainforest. Well, they stay tropical even in England, thanks to geothermal. They heat the whole thing with it. Shows you what the tech can do.
Wow, a rainforest in England, powered by the Earth. That's wild. But they're talking about geothermal doing way more than a few biodomes, right?
Oh, yeah. This is about a complete energy revolution. Imagine not relying on fossil fuels ATLL. Clean energy anywhere on Earth. Homes, businesses, everything.
So when you say baseload energy, that means
Constant power. 20 over 47, unlike solar or wind that depend on the weather. Geothermal's always on. That's what makes it so revolutionary.
consistent, clean, available globally. It does sound like that holy grail of energy, just like the article said. But something that powerful, there's got to be risks, right?
That's important to think about. Every energy source has its downsides. One is induced seismicity, meaning we got to be careful not to trigger earthquakes by drilling so deep. And then there's the chance of releasing naturally occurring radioactive stuff from way down there.
So not without its challenges. But the article did mention they're already doing research and trying to figure out how to minimize those risks. What are they doing about those concerns?
Well, scientists are always working on better ways to watch for seismic activity, finding those safe drilling spots. Plus, there's a lot of research on capturing and managing any of those radioactive elements so they don't cause problems.
So they're really trying to stay ahead of those issues, but let's bring it back down to earth, literally. What would this look like for everyday people? How would geothermal actually affect us?
Think near future. You could be heating your house, maybe even powering your whole neighborhood with geothermal. Way lower energy bills and a much smaller carbon footprint.
Now you're speaking my language, lower energy bills. And speaking of homes, you know that HPB flyer I mentioned about vacation homes? Could we actually have those idyllic getaways running on clean energy? Sign me up. A geothermal-powered vacation home, that's the dream. But before I get ahead of myself, let's talk about the company making those waves. Quais, are they legit, or is this whole microwave drilling thing too good to be true?
Quais is definitely shaking things up. They're getting a ton of attention, even big investments. People like Vinod Khosla, the engine.
Okay, so they got money behind them, but what about the tech itself? Can they actually melt rock with microwaves? And when are we talking, realistically?
It's still early stages, but the tests are looking good. They've gotten to over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit with their system in the lab. Now it's about scaling up, making it work with the drilling stuff we already have.
So like giving regular drilling rigs a high-tech microwave upgrade.
Exactly. They want to do their first real-world test by 2026, drilling down a few meters. If that works, then they'll go deeper, aiming for that 10 to 20-kilometer range needed for ultra deep. They think they can get there within a decade.
A decade, huh? So no instant clean energy then?
It's complicated. It's not just the drilling itself. There's also infrastructure, regulations, all those environmental things we talked about.
Right, the environment, earthquakes, those radioactive elements from underground. How big of a deal is that, really?
Well, whenever you're messing with stuff that deep, there's always that risk of radioactive stuff getting out. But with the right planning, safety protocols, it's manageable.
And manageable meaning?
We can minimize the risks. Quais is designing their system so that the water used to make steam is constantly recycled, contained, so less chance of those radioactive elements getting to the surface.
Okay, makes sense. Sounds like they're serious about safety. So let's say, best case scenario, this all works, they scale up, the environmental stuff is fine, we've got ultra-deep geothermal. What does that world even look like?
It would be transformative, no doubt about it. Imagine a world where fossil fuels aren't running the show anymore. Countries could be energy independent, using what's right under their feet.
No more fighting over oil, that's for sure. And hey, think about those vacation homes, all powered by clean energy. It'd be amazing.
Exactly. The more affordable and accessible this gets, the more we can do with it. Homes, industries, everything running on the Earth's heat.
Okay, now that's a future I want to live in. But hold on. Let's say the future does happen. How does it change everything else? The environment, global politics, this is huge.
Huge is an understatement.
Yeah.
First off, our carbon emissions would plummet, which is what we need to fight climate change. Countries that rely on other countries for fuel, they wouldn't have to anymore. The whole geopolitical landscape would be different.
No more dependence on oil. Organizations like OPEC would be scrambling.
And economically, wow, you'd have whole new industries pop up around geothermal, jobs, innovation. It would make things more sustainable and fair for everyone, energy-wise.
It does sound kind of unbelievable, doesn't it? But before we get too carried away, let's be real. It can't be that easy. What are the challenges, the things that could derail all of this?
You're right, there are always hurdles. Like
Yeah.
we said, those risks with earthquakes, radioactive stuff, those are big ones to address. Then there's public perception. People need to be okay with this, understand it.
So we need to get everyone on board with drilling into the Earth's core, basically.
Yeah, in a nutshell. And then there's the infrastructure. Our power grids aren't ready for this. It'll take massive investment to change that.
So it's not just the science, it's the money, the politics, getting everyone to agree this is a good idea.
Exactly. It needs scientists, engineers, governments, and everyday people all working together.
And let's not forget the people putting up the money for this. It's going to take a lot.
For sure. We need people to keep investing in the research, the development, making sure this can actually work on a global scale.
It's a huge deal, this idea of using the Earth to power our future. But what about right now? What can regular people do besides wait for Quasi to figure it all out?
That's the spirit. First things first, learn about it. Read up on geothermal, how it works, what the good and bad are.
Well, this deep dive is a pretty good start, right?
There you go. And beyond that, support the policies that help renewable energy, including geothermal. Make some noise about funding the research, doing it responsibly. Even if you're thinking about your house, see if geothermal heating or cooling is an option.
So even without our own geothermal setups yet, we can still make choices that push us towards cleaner energy.
Absolutely. Every little bit counts when it comes to making the future more sustainable.
Yeah, it's good to know we can all be a part of this, even in small ways. But before we finish, there's something I've been thinking about. We've talked a lot about how amazing geothermal could be, but what if it doesn't work out? Like something goes wrong, the tech isn't there yet, or they run out of money. What happens then? What does that world look like without geothermal as the solution?
That's the big question, isn't it? And honestly, it's not pretty. If we can't get behind clean energy, like really get behind it, climate change is going to be a whole other level of problem. And it's more than just the environment, too. Think of it, the people who can already afford clean energy, they'll be fine. Everyone else is stuck with the expensive polluting stuff. That's not fair.
So it's not just, oh, well, that cool tech didn't work out. It's about what we're leaving behind for everyone else.
Exactly. We can't just sit back and see what happens. But the good news is nothing's decided yet. We get to decide what the future looks like. Geothermal, this clean, unlimited energy, that's a real chance to change how we think about power. We could make things more sustainable, more equal.
Powered by the Earth itself. That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into geothermal. Hopefully it got you thinking about the possibilities, maybe even inspired you a little bit.